So, you've decided to start diamond painting. You've got your snacks, nom 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 nom, and maybe even your playlist or TV show, yay, and maybe even your favorite skull mug ready to go. But before you dive in to the sparkly abyss, there's one decision that will make or break your entire experience. And that's how to choose your first diamond painting. There are so many to choose from, and we don't know, where do we start? Because if you pick, say, the wrong one, then you'll end up frustrated and overwhelmed and questioning all of your life decisions. Pick the right one and you'll be hooked for life. Welcome back, my dark and creepy friends. I'm Mushmellow, and this is episode 2 of Diamond Painting 101, How to Choose Your First Diamond Painting. Let's start with the most important factor, size. Now, I know this is gonna break some hearts to hear, but be tough, Buttercup. We'll get through it. This is a craft where size does matter. There are many sizes of canvases. This here is a 50 by 70, and you might not think it's so big, but what you're looking at is a desktop that's about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide, and she's covering the whole space. This is a big canvas. And while canvases do come bigger than this, this is about as big as I was willing to drag out for this video. There's also something like this, which is a 40 by 70 centimeter. So don't think just because something's listed as centimeters that it's small, because not necessarily. And for another comparison, this is slightly smaller at 40 by 60. And yet smaller, we have a 30 by 40 sized canvas. As you can see, canvases come in many sizes, and they get even smaller than this and even bigger than the one on the bottom. There's a whole variety of sizes. When you're new, smaller is better. I'd say a good size to start is either with an off-canvas project, a mini canvas, or possibly, if you want a full canvas, a 30 by 40. Big enough to see detail, but small enough to actually finish. Diamond painting is not a race, but nothing kills motivation faster than a massive canvas that you can quickly start feeling overwhelmed with, and it's full of confetti and regret. We don't want that. Smaller canvases, like this 30 by 40, for example, can teach you technique without burning you out. And you'll learn how to place drills, read symbols, and manage your putty or wax before you tackle a big beast. Think of it like learning to crawl before you sprint toward the glittery gates of obsession. The second factor is the art itself. I know, you've probably already fallen in love with that gothic castle under a blood moon with 47 ravens and a ghost bride and a lightning storm in the background. But here's the thing, that masterpiece will not translate well at 30 by 40 centimeters. There's just too much going on. The details will blur together into a pixelated blob of sadness. Faces will disappear, eyes will turn into dark smudges, and text will just look like cryptic ruins. But instead, look for simple, bold images. A single flower, a skull, a pumpkin, or a moon. Clear outlines and high contrast. Subjects that fill most of the frame. Here are some examples of 30 by 40s that turned out great because they were simplistic and weren't too busy with the details. They're relatively straightforward, easy, low color count, and fit in the frame quite well. Now, to hammer home kind of my idea and point on the image and size matters situation is this canvas here. This is a DAC canvas called Misunderstood by Ana Muerte, and it's 56 by 71. This is one of the bigger canvases, okay? And when you're starting out, you may love this image and want to do this image so bad, but you don't know what you're doing yet, and it might become overwhelming. But as you can see here, there's a lot of details. There's candles, there's this kind of doll-esque porcelain-like girl with cracks. You can see her hair and her eyes, a sheet of music down here, which is off frame, but she's got sheet music here, and there's floral stuff and bows, lots going on. But in a canvas this size, those are going to render out really well. But for example, let's say you find a much smaller version of it, a knockoff. This one was obtained from Temu, and it is the same image, but in a 30 by 40 size. So you're thinking, great, I got the image I want, but it's in 30 by 40, but not so great. Why is that? I'm sorry, I'm trying to tilt it so you can see the image there, not the reflection. As you can see, it is less detailed. The art itself, you can kind of see it looks very similar, right? You can tell that this is meant to be the same art. However, the candles here, they become a blur here. Look at that. You can't see candles anywhere like you can right here. It just becomes a white blur. And the girl, her dramatic look, this looks like a spectacle for an eye. Here just becomes like a black hole and blends into her hair. Up here you can see the strands of her hair were up on this canvas. It just becomes one color blurred mess, no definition. You can see here clearly there are cracks charted into here, and while you can see the cracks in the artwork, sort of, it's not charted in there. So those cracks that you would find on the bigger canvas will not translate. They will not show up on this one. And down here, this is her sheet of music, this brown paper bag looking situation, whereas down here you clearly see a piece of paper with some writing that we're not going to be able to read, but it indicates musical notes, right? So another thing I'm noticing as well is she has a cello back here, right? But in the smaller 30 by 40, there's the inference of a cello. I see a cello like shape forming back here. See if I can pick it up. You can barely make it out, but it's right back here. It's not as clearly defined as right here and kind of just blends into the background. This one, my friends, at this size is not going to turn out very well. You might get a general inference of a girl who's maybe dark and moody. It's going to be a blurry, blobby background. You might be really lucky and actually get the inference of the cello back here and the sheet music here, but it doesn't look like it judging from the color palette in the background. Whereas this, the original licensed artwork, is huge, but it has all of the little details, and they can do that. They can add all these little details and finer type of imagery because it's a bigger canvas. So don't worry, you'll get up to this and get your beautiful big masterpieces, but while you're learning, you need to start with something smaller and with a lot less detail packed into it, because if you try to get something that's meant to be a bigger canvas like this and you get it in the size you want, 30 by 40, the details are gonna melt away. Let's go through some examples of diamond paintings that I've done in the past and which ones worked and what sizes they were and which ones maybe didn't work and why that is.
Here is an example of one that did work. It's a 30 by 40 of Jack Skellington as Freddy Krueger. And it works because there is a very simple color palette, very clear definition and contrast between the lights and the darks, and the image just shows up, and it shows up very clearly. It's very simple, there's not a lot of details crowded in here, and it's just enough to get the message across. Here's an example of a 30 by 30 that didn't work as well as it could have if it had been bigger. Because of all the floral details in there, it all starts to kind of blur together. There's no real clear definition of the floral elements, and you can make out the skulls at a distance and the fact that this is a heart made of floral and skull arrangement, but up close, it's really kind of murky. They've tried to pack too much in. And here's an example of another 30 by 40 that turned out really, really well because it's so simplistic. It's got a very limited color palette. It's using vague kind of outline, and you've got that dark silhouette against bright colors, really making it stand out and giving it some definition and detail. This wins because it's simple and yet very effective. Want to keep your first diamond painting experiences simplistic, kind of like this. And here's another example of a 30 by 40 that it turned out well enough, but if it had been bigger with all this detail, it would have looked so much better. You can see it's a black and pink Victorian house with some pink floral and white snow on the ground. You can tell what it is, but a lot of the finer details blend together. Some of the windows blur together, the shrubbery blurs together, and it just is kind of a mess. For its size, it did turn out relatively well, but just imagine what this could have been if it had been bigger and allowed for those details to shine through. Here's another example of a 30 by 40 that had too much detail crammed into it. At first glance, it looks fine. You can read the words, which is great, but if you look, some of the finer details in her hat, in the little hidden skull background, her cat familiar in her hand itself, they're a little bit murky. Some of those finer details get lost in the image because they have too much trying to happen here, too much shading and detail for this small of a canvas. Again, another 30 by 40. This one I feel turned out phenomenal because it's very simplistic. It had a limited color palette and it contrasts the dark and the light colors to bring forth some detail. And you can clearly make out who this is and what it is and all the things about it. All the details shine through because they didn't try to make too many details shoved in your face. It's a basic, simple image, and it really works for this size. Pop quiz. This is an unfinished 30 by 30 canvas. As you can see, it's a group of killer clowns in a confined little space. There's lots of detail in each face. There's a lot of color changes, and this is a round roll canvas. I want to know what you think. Do you think, based on what we've discussed so far, that this image will turn out crisp, detailed, and clear? Or do you think that this is going to turn out to be a muddy disaster? Let me know in the comments.
When you're learning, your goal is clarity. You just want to finish something and feel proud of what you finished, not squint and wonder what you just spent 40 hours on. Now that we've talked about some canvases of all different sizes and what worked and what didn't and why, and you also know to be aware of size as well as image content, let's talk about the different kinds of diamond paintings, because there are things that we call off-canvas projects. And as you might imagine, they're projects that are not on an actual canvas. And then there are also partial canvases, which we'll talk about as well. I'll talk to you mostly about off-canvas projects because I don't have any partial canvases to show you. I can pull something off the internet, like so, and show you what an example of a partial canvas is, but basically what you're looking at is a canvas that drills don't cover the entire drill field like a normal canvas. It's only an element or a piece or a part of the canvas that actually gets drills, and the rest remains just canvas without the stick. But what I do have to show you is some off-canvas examples. So one of the first examples I have here is something that I just picked up off of Temu. And in this box, you'll find something like this. Now, this would be considered, I guess this could be considered a partial, even though it's not on a canvas. And what it is a plastic plate with one side that's sticky. See, there's nothing but the hint of the image on the other side. One half is sticky. You would pull off the cover and place your drills in the designated areas. This one happens to have special drills. You can tell by the shape of the drill space here and here, here. And this is a partial because there is painting in the back. There is image in the back. We're just embellishing this. This is a very beautiful butterfly, kind of a light catcher, or maybe something you could hang on your wall. And you get your drills. And this would be, oh, here's a stand. It's a little tabletop item. And you get your drills here for you to be able to work on this. And then once you're done, you can assemble it by placing it in the groove here. I can't do it right now because it has the plastic on it, but you would place it firmly in that stand there, and it would stand on your tabletop like that. Very quick, easy, beautiful piece, and great to learn with. But keep in mind, unlike normal diamond painting canvases, these do have special drills in special shapes and sizes that you won't normally find on a diamond painting canvas. But this is a good starter piece to where you can find out if you even like diamond painting without investing 40, 50, 60 plus hours into a canvas. This is a good starter piece, a simple image that's only partially diamond painted and still something that you can finish and feel proud of. Gain some confidence, gain some technique, and gain some experience. Another such example of a tabletop off-canvas project, sorry for the crinkles, this is something you're going to have to get used to as a new diamond painter. Everything comes with maximum crinkle. Some people love it, some people hate it. If you're a hater, I'm sorry. But here's another example of a tabletop. This one's on wood, and this side is the sticky side, and you peel off the protective sheet and start putting your drills here. This one does have words. It says trick or treat, and it's very clear right here. Charted out, those words will come out great. Very simplistic images like we've been talking about. Simple pumpkins with very simple mouth shapes, very clearly designated. The words are big. They are blocked out with their own drills. Looks like probably black drills. Very big and prominent, takes up space so that you can actually read it once you've diamond painted it. And same thing with the top pumpkin. And again, this is another one that would be a tabletop finish. Once you're done, you place it on here. But this is considered a full canvas project instead of the last example, which was a partial, because diamond drills go over the entire surface of this project, not just parts of it. So here's another example of a simple, quick, easy canvas. Nope, not quick, easy canvas. So this would be an example of a full drill project that you could do that's off canvas, but yet fully completed and covered in diamond painting drills. And as another example of a full drill, but small off canvas project would be coasters. As you can see here, I am working on a set of coasters now, and you can see here's what they start looking like without the drills on them. You can see here it is a full drill surface, nothing on the back, and this is what they would look like completed. Oh, we can't forget the important one here. Here it is. So here's another example of a small confidence building, experience building, less expensive and less time consuming off canvas but full drill project that you could do to dive into this beautiful, addictive craft and see if it's for you. This be a great opportunity for you to get some confidence by finishing these pretty quickly, and some experience learning how to read the symbols and place the drills properly, and just an overall great experience that won't take up all of your time in case you just like little snippets here and there, and will give you some experience and help you learn this beautiful craft. So to recap, full drill canvases are completely covered in diamonds. They're beautiful and time consuming. Partial drill canvases or projects only have specific areas that you fill in. Partial canvases and off canvas projects are fantastic for beginners because you get instant gratification, sparkle where it counts, and simplicity where it doesn't. But they also let you focus on placement and technique without worrying about giant backgrounds and endless color blocking, or worrying about this massive scroll of canvas that is waiting ahead of you. Think of it like training wheels for your sparkle addiction. Now let's talk about shape. We've touched on it before, but we're going to talk about it again. Round drill or square drill. For beginners, round drills are your best friend. They're easier to pick up, easier to place, and more forgiving when you mess up. Here's an example of a tray full of round drills. As you can see, oh, these are beautiful. They're round and kind of take up a bit more of that round space. You know, it's a little bit more space filling. They're a little bit bigger than, say, square drills, which is in the second tray here. This is an example of some square drills. You can see, obviously everybody knows the difference between round and square shape, but you can see the difference between the shape as it relates to diamond painting drills here. Square drills look gorgeous. They're crisp and full coverage, but they demand precision. They also make a satisfying clicking sound when they line up perfectly. And trust me, you'll be cursing that sound before you master it. Please just trust in the advice of your friend Mushy here and start with round drills and get more comfortable and experienced. Then graduate to square drills when you're ready to level up. Round drills are like training wheels, kind of. They're with kind of a built-in safety net, if you will, whereas square drills are the final boss battle. These need to, like I said, precision, and you have to be just very specific on where you place these, very unforgiving if you make a mistake and get kind of cattywampus, whereas round drills are much easier to work with. Trust me. You might be asking, well, why? And the reason for that is because square drills on a canvas, they fit shoulder to shoulder. They fit together, side against side, whereas round drills have a little space around them. So once you place it and you go to place the next one beside it, there's just a slightly little gap and another circle for you to place your round drill. So if you place some too close together, too far apart, maybe a little off center or off kilter, it's very much more forgiving because the canvas underneath will be colored the same-ish color as your drill, and it will disguise any kind of little mistakes. Whereas square drill, if you go out of the boundaries of its designated area and start going weavy or askew wonky, other drills won't fit because they are meant to line up kind of like they are in this tray, side to side to side to side in a very straight line. And there is no wiggle room on a squared canvas. So absolutely, definitely start with round is my best advice as a beginner. Also, I might add that round drills seem to be able to be completed quicker, those canvases, because they require less precision and less time, and they're take up more space. There's fewer of them. So in a 30 by 40, you will have fewer round drills than if you took that same 30 by 40 canvas and it was a square drill. It would have more drills because these take up more space and are a little bit smaller. So again, I would strongly recommend, for all of the reasons I've stated, that you start with a round drill for sanity's sake. Next, we're going to talk about colors, contrast, and clarity. Dark colors, bright canvases, busy canvases versus simple images, and things like that. When choosing your first artwork, think about color contrast. I'm brought back to things like these coasters here for this. You want to avoid canvases or projects where all the colors blend together, like black hair on a black background or white ghosts on a white mist. The finished product will look flat and you'll go cross-eyed trying to finish it. Instead, look for clear separation between light and dark areas. Strong contrast can help your drills really pop and make it easier to see the symbols as well. For example, you can see these coasters here. They use this bright colored background and a darker shadowy figure, and they lighten it up with some lighter colors that really kind of make the character on here pop. See here, we've got Mikey with his white mask, and yes, he's dark all through here, but they did bring in the light to help him get more defined and bring some contrast to his imagery. These are unfinished ones, but you can see what they're doing here. A bright color background with a darker figured body, but then they do bring in some lighter elements. It's not, dark on a dark background, the dark character, and nothing to bring out any details or brightness. No, these all have contrast and definition, as you can see here. I'm excited to get back to these. So if you're going to work on something spooky, for example, aim for something like this, whether it's on canvas or off canvas, something bold and iconic, but simple. We've got, like I said, single little Mikey here. It's very simple, but you can tell who it is. You can see that Ghostface is also very simple, but you can tell who it is and that he's holding a phone and his little weapon there. So you pick things like that, or maybe even skulls with glowing eyes, or a pumpkin in the moonlight, a bat silhouette over red fog. Those will shine at small sizes and keep your spooky aesthetic intact. But if spooky's not your thing, I've got another idea for you. You could do something cuter, like these little animal butts. I don't usually do cutesy stuff. I'm sure there are probably flowers and little, I did do some puppy paw prints once, but generally if I do cute kind of stuff, it's something with an attitude, much like these. But there is something out there for everyone. If horror is not your aesthetic, you can find something cuter to do here. Screenshot this part with these cute little coasters, and you can use it against me later as leverage. I'll let you in on a secret most creators don't tell beginners. Your first diamond painting will not be perfect. I don't care where you get it from. I don't care the quality of the manufacturer. If you're getting a DAC, a Temu, a Rokari, a Dreamer Design, anywhere, AliExpress or Aloha, wherever you're getting your canvases from, the first one is not going to be perfect, and that's okay. You might miss a drill. You might discover cat hair embedded forever in your moonlight. You might even realize halfway through that you picked a nightmare image that you just didn't come out the way you wanted it to. It wasn't how you envisioned, and you just don't like it. The goal of your first canvas is not perfection. It's experience. Pick something small, bold, and fun. Something that feels like you, because that's how you fall in love with the entire process. Now let me show you some real examples. Let's go first with maybe some bad choices, some not so smart choices on my part. And let's now look at some good first choices. Some things that look like they should for the size that it is. The clearer and simpler the art, the better your results and the more confidence you'll build. And that, my friends, is how you choose your first diamond painting without falling into a glittery trap of disappointment and sadness. In the next episode, we will move on to the setup that I promised. So what else are you going to do with, you're waiting for your canvas to arrive, but set up your workspace. So that's where we'll go next. After we talk about how to set up your workspace and some basic tools that you might find helpful, we'll move on after that to things like flattening your canvas and kitting up and organizing your drills like a pro. But your job for now is to go out into the world and find your perfect diamond painting for you to start. Remember, try to keep it small, whether it's on canvas or off canvas, full drill or partial drill. But my recommendation would be start small, maybe start with coasters and off canvas, those table top projects that I showed you, maybe graduate up to a small canvas, a 30 by 40, and graduate up from there slightly in size as you gain more confidence. I would also remind you to start off with round drills. Trust me, I promise you, I am your friend and I'm telling you, start off with round drills. It'll save you sanity and heartache. Not to say that square drills are bad. They just take a little more finesse and you probably don't want to dive in head first into the deep end of the pool, right? So we'll get on with that at a later date. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Subscribe, join the Kerwhipped crew, and let's keep learning together, one sparkly drill at a time. And until next time, keep it dark, keep it creepy, and keep those drills straight. Don't forget, stay naughty.